First scheduled appointment is going to be Gary Magnuson from CMG Environmental. Gary, turn it over to you, my man.
Thank you, Matt. In light of a relatively short meeting and to not get bogged down with a lot of technical issues, it's been almost a month since the last meeting. I think we met on the 20th of September. So summary of documents that have been submitted that are relevant. Tie and Bond on behalf of the non-specified PRP did submit IRA status report number 4, 1,046 pages of it, to DEP on September 21st. I have looked at it. As I've said in the past, there's a lot of data in here. I think the data itself, I don't have any significant problem with the data. Some of the interpretation of the data I certainly don't agree with. This report still clearly says that the landfill is not the likely source. I think I have some concerns with that, but we've relied on DEP to provide that opinion. So that's one large document that's been submitted. So DEP did do an inspection of the Fox property right before our last meeting. Since about a week ago, DEP published on their website the laboratory results from the study that DEP did. So DEP walked the Fox property with Mr. Fox, took some soil samples, some groundwater sample, or some soil samples, sample of the drum, and samples of some water found in a small holding tank on the property. The summary of that data is, the analytical data is they really didn't find anything, pretty much no detections in anything. The drum was a brand new drum of asphalt concrete foundation sealer. It was deteriorated, but it was in good shape. I spoke with Kevin Dowse. He physically opened the drum with his staff, and the drum aspirated when it was open, which meant it was under a vacuum. It had never been opened before. And it looked like a black, gooey, asphalty material. He did test that. Obviously, it came up with very high concentrations of petroleum. Of note, they did detect tetrachloroethylene, PCE, in that as a raw product. The MSDS, or SDS, the safety data sheet for that product says there are, I don't know, 30 different VOCs in the product. So it's not uncommon that it's found there. They did test the ground directly under and around that, didn't find anything. So the drum, this whole issue of this drum that was raised in Time Bond's other report, I believe has been resolved. DEP's been out there, they've tested it, haven't found anything. Time Bond asked for access to that property from Mr. Fox. I can't recall if they had to go through DEP or not, but they were granted access. Time Bond and DEP were back at Mr. Fox's property this week or last week. Did a thorough walk through the whole property. I think they collected a few samples. I don't have any data on that at this point. So that's the status of the Fox property. And there's, again, more submittals on DEP's website regarding that. Time Bond submitted to DEP a request for access agreement or access support to get on the Incom property. DEP subsequently sent a letter from DEP's deputy or regional counsel at the Worcester office to Incom requesting access. And I have not heard a response from Incom at this point. That's only about a week old, maybe less than that. And the access agreement talks about what they want to do for scope work. They want to walk around the property, they want to kind of do an assessment of the property. If there are monitoring wells, they'd like access to sample them. If there aren't monitoring wells, they'd like access to access the property and put monitoring wells in. So more to come on that issue. So that's that data. We did receive, the Board of Health received 2 emails from Matt Wagner regarding the monthly sampling that was done September 28th and 29th. A lot of, I would say, consistent chloroform detections. Not too many of these seem to be new detections. A couple of them were J's before, now are above a J. But no 1,4-dioxane in any of the test samples tested above the method limit right now, or around, I don't know the actual lab data, but I'm assuming it's right around 0.15. The standard is 0.3. So there was a bunch of testing done on Berry Corner, and I was trying to find out if I've looked at the data to see if there are any new changes to the Berry Corner, but no, it seems pretty consistent there. The most important document that came out was on October 14th, DEP. There's an internal memorandum from 6 folks at DEP: Stephanie Kelly, Stephanie Allen, Jason Edmonds, Robert Adler, Kevin Dowse, Rebecca Woolley, and Michael LeBlanc, all DEP employees, to Mark Baldy, the Deputy Regional Director. It's a hydrologic review of the Southbridge Recycling and Disposal Park dated October 14th. So last meeting I told, or actually at the town meeting or the meeting at the where DEP was here, they said they had a lot of staff working on this project. This is a memo from that staff to Mark Baldy saying, giving their opinion of what they found. Essentially, they're saying they do not agree with, well, backing up. They reviewed the MEPA, Environmental Impact Report, the MEPA Supplemental Environmental Report, and the Immediate Response Action Status Report. So these 4 documents they've reviewed, plus the MEPA filings. Basically, and I'll paraphrase, I'm not going to paraphrase, I'll read it directly. Mass DEP disagrees with both SH, Sanborn Head, and Ty and Bond's CSM, conceptual site model premise that the landfill could not be the source based on the observations listed below. We can go through it if you want, but as we said, DEP staff is looking at it. They don't agree with a lot of the hydrogeologic assessment. Their statements, a lot of statements in here that are pretty relevant. DEP recommends, and it says under recommendation, Mass DEP offers the following recommendations to better characterize the bedrock aquifer due to the complexities involved with hydrologic investigations in bedrock. Other investigative techniques not mentioned in this recommendation should be evaluated as well. And they talk about doing more work, essentially. So DEP staff has said to Mark Baldy, we don't think enough has been done. We don't agree with the conclusions, and we think more needs to be done. They, of concern directly to H Foot Road, DEP agrees that the 2 monitoring wells on the east side of the landfill are insufficient. One's 100, one that we've talked about here is 215 feet deep, one's 500 feet deep. There's no wells in between them. DEP has a nice statement in here about all of the bedrock monitoring wells that the landfill is using, and they range from, I want to say, 16 to 80 feet deep. They keep talking about the bedrock study, the bedrock study. Well, as we've talked ad nauseum here, the bedrock wells are, 400 to 700, 800 feet deep. So, and as John has provided a nice figure, and others have provided, there's actually figures provided by Sanborn Head and Ty and Bond that show that the fracture zones are different. Attached to this is a memorandum or a document from the United States Geological Survey. A memo to Mark Baldy from James Duggan, hydrogeologist at the USGS, essentially saying, not so much saying they disagree directly with the assessment, but saying it's a complex situation and they need to do more work to come up with a solid conclusion. So you've got 7 folks from Mass DEP saying not good enough, and you've got the US Geological Survey saying not good enough. There's all kinds of recommendations that are very technical. I can get into them if you want. I probably don't want to bore you guys to death. Stephen, so the state geologist is also in here. Stephen McVeigh, PhD, he provides a comment to Mark Baldy. Kind of the same thing. So, as I've said all along, the Board of Health can only do so much. And, we're trying to make sure that you guys have you residents are getting the drinking water you need and the assessments being done appropriately. DEP carries the big stick and they just used the big stick, in my mind. So that's kind of a summary. If there's questions, I'll get into them, or if you want to get more detailed, but I wanted to keep it more generic
Gary,
tonight.
what's the next step? Would it be Casella or Iron or something coming back, rebuttals or their suggestions, their next steps to answer this? I would assume that somebody's got an answer to all of this. And of course, the next question would be, what's the time frame for that? Do we have any idea?
None of these documents, to me, none of this letter clearly doesn't say you must respond by.
Right. Maybe coming from Mark
Well,
Baldwin.
Kevin Dowse has given the May interim requirements for the IRA status report, say you must do this, and this. This memo from all those guys says you're really not doing it. So I believe what's gonna happen is there'll probably be some discussion amongst the parties, but I think there will be a new work plan submitted by the landfill side to DEP saying, okay, we're gonna do this to try to answer some of these. I believe that's what will happen. There is no discussion here relative to the ongoing permitting. It doesn't say the permitting's on hold, it doesn't say the permitting's denied, it doesn't say anything about that. It says they reviewed those documents, and it says they reviewed the IRA, but the meeting that we were at, when Mary Jo was here, she clearly said that they don't have enough data to review the permits, and until they get that data, they can't finalize their review. So, to me, that leads me to believe that, I would imagine the landfill side is gonna wanna respond to these, because they've got an open permit request in place. And now they got a technical review that says we don't agree with your technical response. So I'm guessing there's gonna be a work plan that both parties will have to agree upon. But I don't, further information to follow.
Anything else?
No.
All right. Tomorrow, big meeting, DEP. Where you going?
I heard there's a meeting tomorrow.
Are you,
I
Able to go?
Yeah, I was asked to go.
yeah.
I'm gonna sit in the corner
Mhm.
and listen.
Okay.
And remember, you know, I don't,
So this meeting tomorrow, I'm under the impression that it's with Casella, Sanborn Head. Is that your understanding?
I don't have a lot of understanding. I
Okay.
just found out about an hour ago that
Me
I was
too.
requested to go.
Me too.
So I'm guessing it relates to this, and
Okay.
I'm guessing it'll be the technical folks on this side talking to the DEP. That's why I said I think a work plan might come out, but I don't know.
It's Ty and Bond and Sanborn.
Ty and Bond,
Sanborn.
Sanborn.
Both firms will be there.
And also the town of Southbridge.
I'm not sure.
I heard town of Southbridge parties will be there, town of Charlton parties will be there, DEP.
So, yeah, our position will be to, we're gonna listen. Obviously, if something needs to be said, it'll be said, but I think DEP is clearly in the captain's chair directing things.
Where's the meeting? Where and when, do we know?
It's tomorrow
At DEP.
Yeah.
at DEP office.
In Worcester?
Yeah.
I don't think I don't know that it's public or, I don't know how this
Yeah,
meeting's
not that I
run.
was gonna go, I was just curious as to where it was. if it
Yeah,
was
I
gonna
don't
be
have
in
any
town.
information. Like I said, I just found out and I was asked to go on behalf of the town, so I will be there.
I cannot be there,
Jim will be there.
Jim will be there, I know you're going, and Ms. Graves is going. So, if any member of this board wants to go, they're not gonna kick you out at the door, I guarantee
No.
it. So if you wanna go, or you wanna go, you know, it's,
Not that I'd have much more to say, if you're gonna be sitting in the corner,
Well,
gosh, I'd be
again,
there.
I've been to a lot of the meetings, you know, on this project and the ExxonMobil, and I said it and I'll say it again. You really have a very good person managing this in Mark Baldy. He's committed, he's adamant, and he's technically really sound. So, and he's really concerned about residents. So, you know, I hopefully I can sit and listen.
Gary, So John, if you wanna go, hook up with Jim Philbrook and he'll get you the where and when.
I've got a relatively light work date, I think it worked, but I do have some meetings I don't think I can make.
Be with me as well if you want to.
So Gary, and if I'm catching you off guard, I apologize, because we talked earlier and I didn't talk about this, but the 150, 151, was it 148 Berry Corner Road, those houses, it wasn't new action, but there was some concern going on, was it the one?
So at 151, there was a detection of carbon disulfide. It's new at that house.
Mm-hmm,
It was a J qualified detection of .32.
yeah.
161 and 173 Berry Corner, there were some detections, but they're consistent with what's been found there before. They're not new.
I reached out to you to get some data on that, since our last meeting.
Right.
And it's, you know, and I know 163 is down the road a little bit, but those houses are like, got it, don't have it, almost have it, J-head, you know, and then, of course, 150 is the eye of the storm that's been cleaned currently, or up to date, or to this point. I still am not satisfied with the courtesy bottled water program in consideration of those particular houses right there. They deserve it. They qualify for it, they should have it. It's beating my head against the wall, you know. I have asked Mr. Philbrook to comment on that tomorrow at the meeting, at DEP.
And I'll support Jim on that. Matt, I think the issue is when that original box was drawn, there wasn't much data out here.
Yeah.
And in hindsight, I think that box should have been drawn and there should have been a sub-box in that corner.
Yeah.
Because looking at this data, there's enough J hits, there's enough going on out there to warrant the bond. But again, just because it wasn't in the agreement, that's why Tracy continues to say
It
they're
gets
not gonna
kicked
go.
out.
Yeah.
And, you know, I've been persistently requesting it and persistently being denied. So, if you would support that, the action step is to please make sure Mr. Philbrook brings it up and doesn't forget or gets shy.
We'll bring that up.
I would like to see that, and while you're at it, throw 163 on the table too.
We'll do.
I know it's asking for something that's not the law, I realize that, but it needs to be called out and put on the table.
We can bang our head against the wall as easy as you can. We will do that for you. I agree.
Thank
I
you.
don't disagree with it, so I don't have a problem with that at all.
They've all heard it, they all know, but it's, call it the squeaky wheel, if you will. Do you have anything?
No.
I do have one other point I wanted to bring up
Sure.
regarding the recent sampling is 66 H-Foot Road had a barrage of different detections in its last sampling event.
Mhm.
We talked about it, I think it had 7 or 9 detections, nothing this time.
2 others as well,
Yeah,
75 and 85, nothing now.
yeah, I know.
I mean,
66
zero
was the one that
detection.
really shocked me.
And all 3 had exceedances.
Yeah, so, but 66 had, you know, I don't recall off the top of my head, but 66 wasn't horrific or had almost nothing and then boom, through the roof and then.
It had close to almost nothing.
Yeah,
And they went 1,4-dioxin over, and they
Yeah.
went 4.9 on TCE.
yeah, no.
And then 4 other chemicals, 75 and 85 all went over from nothing on 1,4-dioxin. I mean, like twice over. And now all 3 have 0 detections. So with
So-
that in mind, it's like water should be for everyone, because that happened within 2 weeks, from twice over to nothing. So even monthly testing isn't
Right, so
gonna protect you from that.
when you look at the data, you know, and seeing non-detects, we always think of non-detects are really good. But they're good if they're consistent.
Right.
When these things start to change, and again, Mark's well aware of that, and that's why the monthly came in. And, oh, I'm sorry, I forgot one other document. Time Bond did submit a rebuttal to DEP's request for monthly testing. So DEP gave them a verbal request, said you will do monthly testing because of these concerns. Ty and Bond submitted a 2-page rebuttal to that saying they believe that the quarterly testing is sufficient. In that rebuttal, and that was a mid-September rebuttal, it said they're gonna do the September, because we were pushing to make sure the Septembers got done in September, and they did get done this 27th, 28th. They said they're gonna do the October, I believe, and then I think November is the standard quarterly, if I remember correctly, but they are asked, they wanna be done with that. I don't believe DEP is gonna agree with that. It was just a rebuttal,
Yeah, sorry.
so.
Well, the water table is way down everywhere. Would this make a difference in some of these wells now, like that one now? I mean, what reservoirs are done,
It-
what wells are done?
I mean, it could have something to do with it. Water tables are fluctuating. The issue is, you know, it's a complex hydrogeology. The fact that we're in a drought has something to do with it. Can you definitively say that it is the cause at 66 this month? I would never say that, because I don't have enough data to support that. But it's just another piece of data that comes into play that says, gee, we're really low, water table's really low, we're in a drought. How is this impacting things? And it's actually good, because there's so much data being collected. This is, we're almost at like a 10-year drought with low water levels. So we're getting some data that normally we wouldn't be getting.
Right.
So there's a benefit to it.
Water table.
Yeah.
And just talking about it, we've been seeing the emails from residents or whatnot, but it has been a year that those residents have been, dealing with this.
Yeah.
Like, almost to the day.
Yeah.
So it's, year one is already come and gone. And we're, just starting up. The tip of the iceberg right now, So. Anything, John, for Gary?
I want, not for Gary, but along these lines, I'll wait till Gary's done and we're done with samples.
Gary, you have anything else?
I don't.
Go ahead, John.
This is in regard to the zoning enforcement officer. They hired a substitute. I'm sorry, I don't recall the gentleman's name, but he was gonna look at the basins and zoning and so forth and make a determination. Has that time frame already come and gone? Has anybody heard anything? I have not heard a boo about it, so.
I talked to Robin today.
Oh, okay.
Asking for the opinion. She said it went to town council to
Yeah.
discuss with Fred Leonardo,
Okay.
the alternate CEO, because of the complexity of the site and probably legally what each part that he's found means.
Okay.
So she won't give me a copy, even though the town council review shouldn't change anything. She said when it's done, she'll let me know.
All right.
So it's pending.
Yeah.
So he's done his study.
He's
and now
done.
it's in the
Right. Now they're discussing it with town council of what he found means, I guess.
Right.
I'm sure, the town wants to know what that means before it goes public. And they have a ton of questions and you don't have answers, so
Right.
I understand that.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, touchy subject, but I did want to bring it up because
It's been quiet.
well, it has been quiet, and I
Yeah.
thought that there was some sort of a time frame in here, but, everything else that's going on, maybe I'm mistaken. And so thank you, John, that does answer it.
I know, John, the meeting we had, what was it, 6 weeks ago with DEP or something like that?
Yeah.
There was like 5 things that were gonna happen next week. That was one of them.
Okay,
So-
maybe that's where I heard it.
Yeah. Anything else?
That's it.
Does anybody else have anything to comment, John?
I had one question for Gary. Considering how we only have like 4 swimming pools on our street, and chloroform seems to be increasing or coming up on properties for people who have no well work where chlorine would be down their wells, what's another source for chloroform to be in wells that we find J hits on Berry going up to over 3 now in some locations, and chloromethane as well? If
Yeah.
it's not the landfill, what have you seen in the past from other places that can cause chloroform?
Usually chloroform, chloromethane are usually chlorination byproducts. We
Mhm.
quite often find them after a new well has been installed and,
Mhm.
chlorinated, and you test it too soon or it's not cleared out. Yeah, it's a little obscure to me that they're there and they're so consistent.
Mhm.
They are sometimes, we call them laboratory contaminants or byproducts, you know, you find them, but not this consistent. So
Yeah.
I don't know what another source would be.
So I've seen them listed as biodegradation products from like PCE, which is an exceedance at the landfill.
Yeah.
And so I've seen them as breakdown products, and, you know, the landfill's not doing a very good job of detecting their own contamination, which is there.
Right.
Because they're not deep enough. And now, maybe we're seeing some breakdown products that,
I guess I haven't spent a lot of concern on it because right now DEP considers that a contaminant concern from a landfill. So
you know,
if they're requiring them to test for it and they're considering a contaminant concern in a landfill, I see no utility in looking at an alternative hypothesis of where it came from at this point, but
Yeah.
it's widespread,
mhm.
and it's almost ubiquitous. It's almost becoming an arsenic type thing. It's
Yeah.
just, it's there.
Like toluene too.
Yeah. Toluene we find quite often associated with well piping, things of that nature.
Even years after they've been
No,
installed.
not normally, but if things have been adjusted or manipulated. Toluene is also, you know, right, it's found in landfills, it's a regular
Gasoline.
contaminant, it's associated with gasoline.
Mhm.
The really, you know, it's really weird that MTBE never came up here too. 'Cause
We have had
MTBE
it on H-foot
Right, but not,
early. We
Not-
had it, now it may break down, who knows. but-
it's just, it's so prevalent elsewhere in the town
Mhm.
that it's almost an anomaly that it's just not up there.
Yeah.
So, yeah, the chloroform and I've thought about that and tried to figure out where it's coming from, and then I kind of backed out and said,
Mhm.
they're still testing for it.
Because Italian Bond's trying to make that and toluene, like, you know, these are always found, they're always
Yeah.
here, they shouldn't be COCs.
DOP
I've seen them
not on
state
board.
that a few
No, and
times.
DEP has said they don't agree with it.
And they shouldn't.
Right, so, yeah.
Well,
Getting back to NCOM, they want to put in monitoring wells at NCOM, is that what I heard you say?
That's what I heard him say.
The scope of work does discuss that, yeah.
And, I mean, this board's aware of the topographical, NCOM's here. I mean, it seems more smoke and mirrors. Throw it at the wall, see if it sticks. Which is just, that's my mantra, I'm sick of hearing of BS.
Hopefully this helps you.
I know it
If
does.
this says, go do the work at the landfill, they have the ability to look elsewhere. And my perspective, as long as they're focusing significant effort here on the landfill itself, they want to spend a little of their time and energy and money on the periphery. As long as it doesn't preclude the important things up top, that's fine. It's been referenced as a concern from almost day one, so an answer there would be useful. I don't think it ties very much to you guys.
No,
But I
it's a
think
waste of
it's-
money.
Well, I can't, no comment there.
Anything else?
The chloroform,
Sorry.
they've been doing, Casella's been putting in new wells at the landfill. They've been putting in the digital monitoring devices in homes. Every time that they do that, don't they chlorinate those?
They should be cleaning those and chlorinating. It
Could that be a part of a,
could be, but I mean, you're not finding, I mean, a lot of the homes many of the homes that have it, those wells have never been opened up or taken apart, so.
Mhm.
But, and for the chlorination of a well at the landfill, and then to find that chlorination byproduct 1,000 feet away, directly after that's very unlikely. There's not enough mass that they use.
Okay.
You put it in your own well, and you flush it out, and it's gone within 24 hours to 48 hours. So there's just not enough mass in the aquifer, in
so
my mind.
backwashing your pool shouldn't provide enough mass either?
Backwashing a pool directly next to your well where you've got a bad seal on the well, that might be something. Because again, you could be backwashing hundreds and hundreds of gallons, and depending on how well you are at monitoring your chlorine in your pool, you could be putting an awful lot of chlorinated, high concentration of chlorine. backwash into the ground, and again, that's sealing your well or a direct connection or something, that could, I would see, but to think that the chlorination work that they did on, let's say, the irrigation well was found at Berry Corner Road a month later, just, we don't have the exact hydrogeology, and no one's told me how quick it flows yet,
Right.
but I presume that unlikely. The landfill is a big area, and there's a lot of contaminants found around it. So those are, like, you know, we think of those as a continuing source or something to migrate, not some one-time byproduct used for cleaning something.
I thought that was garbage soup.
That's, I wouldn't use that word, but I've heard that.
Just one last question, Gary. Your knowledge of landfills, if there's less rain, there's less leachate?
There should be, depending on what your leachate collection system is collecting. This landfill, because it's open, I'm assuming part of their leachate collection system is collecting part of the active landfill and part of the inactive and all those. Once a landfill is capped and closed and sealed and locked up, if the leachate collection system is truly respecting the leachate stuff underneath, it really shouldn't change much, except for when the water table drops so low that you don't have any water content. So this being an active landfill, I would say less rain, less collection, because again, a lot of it has to do with coming right off the surface.
Which could also become less detections.
Yes.
Because if it's coming from the landfill, it's coming from probably, was it zone 1 and zone 2 that are online?
Could also be more detections if the leachate is the stuff coming underneath
Mm-hmm.
and it's not being diluted by the rainwater. That's getting, because I don't fully understand, I haven't investigated the leachate collection system.
Right. But I believe the leachate collection system, I mean, is mostly affected by rainfall, depending on how many gallons they're gonna get out of the leachate. If it's you having a heavy rainfall, there's gonna be more leachate. After heavy rainfall, you're gonna have, if you have a leaking liner, you're gonna get more contaminants into the ground.
One thing we haven't really asked for and researched, and DP hasn't either, is analytical data of their leachate collection system. What are they actually collecting? What are they finding? What are they getting in that data? Is there a historical trend? Is something different? You know, and I think that's relevant. And I may bring, if I do speak tomorrow, that was one thing I might bring up, because I had asked them, talked about that early on, and I really wanted to learn.
Deb, you had a question?
Yeah, I'm just curious, because for some reason they seem to be really responsive to newspaper reports. Where would you like more water exactly? They're getting it on H-Foot Road and Eleanor Lane, correct? All of those roads? Are they getting it on Berry Corner and number 10 Schoolhouse?
They're not, and specifically at this time, the Berry Corner Road. We've had multiple requests for that, and it's been denied because it's out of the range. And I think they need to look at that and make an exception in that group of houses right there, the 150, the 151, 148.
Kind of like 148 to
163 is right up there,
That zone.
and I can't tell you how many times I've asked for it, and it keeps getting rejected, and it keeps.
Yeah, there was a letter forwarded that I was copied on, I believe, and we had come from Tracy.
Mhm.
And she said, you know, it was 2 houses specifically on Berry Corner. This was recent, too.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
So, and she said, no, it's outside of this question.
It's outside that box.
Outside
There was an
the
original box
Yeah,
drawn,
there you go.
and it wasn't in that original.
So immediately we're looking for the homes on Berry Corner.
Some of the homes on Berry Corner.
Most of the homes on Berry Corner?
Pretty much it's the group of 4, the 148, the
4
150.
homes on Berry Corner?
Well, Gary's brought up 163 a few times. and
Only because it's the next one in the
yeah,
loop.
so I would say
5.
5. Yeah, 5 in particular. Anything else with the discussion on the H-foot road water? If not, we're gonna move on. Thank you all for coming. Gary, anything on Flint Road water?
Yeah, so Flint Road, we installed a system at number 59. We've been testing it. The treated water is good. We have an access agreement, we have to get over to the owner. We've been working on that internally, so that'll get taken care of hopefully this week. Been very responsive. He's pleased that the town has stepped up and taken care of that. October is a quarterly event, so we're gonna sample 63, 59, 57, and 55 for all the VOCs, not just the contaminants concerned, all the VOCs, and one for dioxide. Thank you. And that'll happen next week. So, 2 weeks from now, we'll have some data. October is a quarterly event, so the 54 Flint Road landfill, DEP is required to do some testing there. So we're gonna test 4 monitoring wells there. 92, the capped landfill, we have to do sampling there either October or November, inspection and sampling. I'm gonna try to work that out with Jim to do that. And that's just an inspection and a gas sampling event. I'm gonna try to do that before the end of October. So, and, yeah, that's the summary.
Hey, Gabe, feel like having a chat with us for a second?
Good chat or bad chat?